Yo, mi gente. Teofimo Lopez revisits his insults towards Puerto Rican boxing.
Welcome back to VicSzn TV.
Now let's pop this up real quick and see what he got to say.
I love Puerto Ricans. Mira, I'm just saying, like, the Puerto Ricans, other than Oscar Galazo, I think Oscarito is the best, bro. Dude is amazing. Best Puerto Rican fighter right now, this era. I guess I never elaborated it because I was just so focused on, like, Subriel being this guy and everybody talking about him.
Right.
Puerto Ricans have a phenomenal track record of great, excellent fighters. What I should have said in that past interview was that Puerto Rican fighters of this era just not it.
Yeah, I say the same thing. I get criticized for saying that all the time.
It's hard to live up to the Titos and the Cotos of the world, so I can respect it.
You know what I mean? But it goes further on. Rafael Benitez and so many others out there that have, bro, like, you got Calderon, you got so many great Puerto Rican champions. And I'm representing the WBO, which is founded in Puerto Rico. Like, I am proud to represent that belt. So I didn't mean any harm by saying that. I just meant it in a way of, like, from all those of the Puerto Ricans, what we're seeing now is not as how it was then.
Okay.
Toma, huepa, chacho, pa que sepa, puñeta.
So shout out to the 10-8 podcast. They did this interview with Teofimo Lopez. I got a few things to say about this. And I want to start with the stuff that I do agree on when it comes to what Teofimo Lopez just said. You know, what he's saying is right. It's something that we all know as boxing fans, right? But of course, there's a flip side of that coin that we're going to touch up on. But like I said, let's start with the positive, and then we're going to get to the shit why he shouldn't have said this. But what he's saying right here is true. As a boxing fan, stating this from a boxing fan perspective, it's cool, right? You're being honest. You think that Collazo is the only, probably the only or the one that could actually live up to the legacy of Puerto Rican boxing when it comes to the names like Cotto, Trinidad, so on and so forth. But then we also got other fighters too in that mix. And it don't seem he's mentioning so much of these other fighters, just mainly Collazo. It's cool though, because I do see some potential in a lot more fighters, right? Outside of Collazo, but Collazo's definitely on top of that list skill-wise. He's a part of the WBO. He's trying to show respect. He's saying, listen, man, I respect, Puerto Rico. I like representing the WBO title, which came from that. All that is cool, right? If this was the initial approach, I think this would have never got taken out of hand. If he would have just kept it as, not even elaborating after what he just said to begin with, because he said, I should have had it elaborated. Off the rip, when you said, Puerto Ricans are easy to beat, I don't care if the Puerto Ricans feel some type of way. There's no way you could elaborate to make that situation better. I promise you, it would have only gotten worse because you would have kept slipping some shit out that shouldn't have not been slipped out. That's why I say, however he felt about, Subriel Matias personally should have been kept that way. And if you did want to bring up Puerto Rico boxing, it's nothing wrong to feel that way, but then you got to understand what comes behind it. They say in the Will Smith movie, he said something like, fear don't exist, but danger does, nigga. So you could say what you want to feel how you feel, but just know that there could be repercussions from that, and it might not happen violently. It might not happen in a physical way. I don't promote violence, right? I'm saying more on the financial way, possibly. Maybe majority of your fan base, considering you came from Brooklyn, there's a lot of Puerto Ricans there. Maybe you had a big Puerto Rican support and might have lost it because of this situation. That's what I'm saying. That's dangerous to your pockets. So you don't want to put yourself in a position where you start, things start interfering with your passion. You know what I mean? Sometimes financially, things might not go your way and it can interfere for your love of the sport. That being said, had he just kept it between him and Subriel, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, bro. It's the fact that he generalized it. Now, this is where he went wrong in this specific justification here. He says, at least he justifies himself so that he can make it clear. But he still values Zayas a lot, it seems like. When you see him in, videos with him, he goes, yo, he's next champion 154. Seems like he has this good relationship with Zayas. So it's almost like, damn, bro, you don't think that Zayas, that's your man's, right? That's your boy. I don't understand why he wouldn't even mention Zayas during this time. Maybe he just keeps it real with Zayas too. And behind the scenes, maybe he goes, yo, Zayas, you're not like that. You know what I'm saying? But I still rock with you. But he also said in the video before that, yo, he's next champion. So my thing is, he's saying none of the current champions or none of the current fighters are like that, but he insists to build relationships with certain current fighters. So that's kind of like off to me. It's not, I think that's kind of disloyal if you're not allowing to let the person know in private. You know what I'm saying? That's something you should let them know in private. Like, yo, bro, I'm not going to lie. You got a lot of potential, but I still don't see that spark in you as far as legacy in Puerto Rico goes. Keep working. And that comes to my next point. Timing is everything. Obviously, Trinidad wasn't who he became immediately after turning pro. Remember, he holds the record damn near. I know there's somebody, Armstrong holds the record, but when we comparing the opponent, you know what I'm saying, the competition, Trinidad holds that record for the highest competition with the most consecutive title fight defenses. He defended over or about 15 times. He defended his title 15 times. That's crazy. So Zayas just became a champion. Obviously, there's going to be some work to do. Now, do I believe he's going to live up to the shoes of someone like Trinidad? Is always, that vision is always going to be blurry for at least fans. The only person that could see that vision crystal clear is Zayas himself, because there's people that didn't believe Trinidad would be what he became. And when he lost, people said, I told you, I knew he would be like, some people already had doubts for him. But imagine had he won, we probably still wouldn't believe, like, yo, damn, he really beat Hopkins. We wouldn't. But he's done enough for us to be like, yo, he's that guy for Puerto Rico boxing in history. It took time, though. Subriel Matias is kind of not going to be able to do that right now. I'm not saying it's impossible. I don't think Subriel is going to leave without, a few more accomplishments and establishments. But what I will say is that for Subriel to already start catching up to something that Trinidad has done is damn near impossible at this time. So I can see where he comes from on that point. But does that take away as a fighter for Subriel Matias? Does that take away Subriel Matias as a fighter? No, it shouldn't. Subriel Matias gets the job done. Listen, what Tio said wasn't far off, but the way he said it was in a delivery that came from a person that just didn't like Puerto Ricans, maybe at that specific time. And maybe he didn't realize how much Puerto Ricans probably really rocked with him up until that point. You know what I'm saying? That's what I truly believe. What I believe, bro, is that Teofimo Lopez went through a situation where maybe a particular Puerto Rican, maybe a couple Puerto Ricans, and Subriel Matias added to that list, and he just got fed up with a couple of Puerto Rican cats and said, listen, man, this bullshit. I'm the one that made it to the top level. These guys ain't on my level. Puerto Ricans are easy to beat. That's the first thing that came to his mind. He said, F this. I'm going to start getting on my cocky-ish because I earned my way, and these cats calling my name ain't earned it yet. And I think that's where that's where that anger came from. Maybe he felt like he was getting some hate from a particular Puerto Rican group and didn't realize that the masses of Puerto Ricans were supporting them in the sport of boxing. After I did that decision, I believe that things started falling apart little by little for Teofimo Lopez. And then, if you notice, once he made that statement, things little by little overall was just breaking apart. And I was calling it. I was calling every move. They think I do brujeria. I was literally calling out every little thing that was going wrong, bro. Every little thing that was going wrong, I predicted it to happen. Just because I already knew the repeated cycle of his mistakes taking place over and over again. I was like, yep, he's going to do this again. Yep, he's going to do this. Oh, you think he's going to get with Turkey? Everything's going to be good? That's not going to work out. Didn't work out. Oh, you think Canelo's going to save him? That's not going to work out. That didn't work out. Oh, he's training with Mayweather. He's with Mayweather now? That's not a thing. Ended up not being a thing. Oh, PBC now? That's not a thing. Everything that keeps popping up, and I keep telling y'all, is because he's still making the same mistakes, right? He's still being the same person. This could be the first step. I seen transparency from him before this, but not like this. It seems like little by little, he's opening up to just be like, yo, I'm fucking sorry, bro. I didn't think this would blow up like that. This is what I meant. And, I know I should have elaborated, but I shouldn't have said it to begin with. That's, I think, what the whole idea is, because that becomes a little sensitive, not just in the sport of boxing, but in general, when you word it the way Teofimo Lopez did. It's like me saying, yo, the Mexicans are easy to beat. And I don't care if the Mexicans feel some type of way. Do you think that the Mexicans are going to just be cool with that shit? No. If I say, yo, the blacks are easy to beat, and I don't care if the blacks feel some type of way. They easy money. They might not feel so pleasant about that either. There's so much, no matter how you put it, even though we know it's the sport of boxing, but the moment you create some type of division through race, nationality, whatever the case is, you got to expect that group that you mentioned to feel some type of way and probably no longer want to support you. Sometimes you could say some shit, you think all bad publicity is good publicity. Yeah, but sometimes it doesn't generate financially. You got to know how to capitalize off it. You know what I'm saying? There has to be a plan to that madness. There has to be a method to that madness. You don't just randomly wake up and say you want to be a villain. You have to have a plan mapped out, like, okay, you know what? I'm going to be a villain, but here's the plan behind me being a villain. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be a villain, and here's the plan behind it, unless you're just naturally a villain. But this is obvious that I think, fighters like T.O., Devin, and stuff like that, it seems like they forced themselves to be the villain because, it seems like naturally there's a lot of fans that don't enjoy watching them or don't like who they are as a person. So if you're not naturally a villain, come up with a plan. To, you know what I'm saying? All right, I'm going to do this, but this is then I'm going to create merch off this. I'm gonna make merch, something, you know what I'm saying? Something crazy, you know what I'm saying? Capitalize off that and then actually fight. That's the only thing Teofimo Lopez missed out on. He could have been in one of the biggest fights of his career against Subriel Matias. And he just not doing it. So my thing is, if that's how you truly feel, back it up. You know what I'm saying? And then if you happen to beat Subriel Matias in a fight, then you could say, listen, guys, then you could really explain listen, I love Puerto Rico. I don't want nobody feeling no type of way about this. Listen, I just, he's a great warrior. He's just not like the idols that I looked up to growing up, like Tito Trinidad. But I do believe in this current time, he'll be remembered. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that, I don't know. But come up with something that is not going to trigger the whole nation. Because if you don't have a plan for that, you're going to allow the whole nation to get to your head and realize that, damn, I might, and at that, a nation or a group of people that probably was your core audience at one point. So I'm not too sure. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. Would you or do you forgive Teofimo Lopez for what he said? And would you be able to support him as a fighter moving forward if you're Puerto Rican or whatever Latino you is, stating that he did mention this before? Me, if I'm keeping it boxing, like I said, I always enjoyed watching Teofimo Lopez fight when he's not giving us performances like Claggett. Even the performance he gave last fight with Barboza, I'm not the biggest fan of that. But him versus Loma, great performance in my opinion. That was one of his best performances. Comey, him versus Comey. Those 135 matchups were great. I would like to see that kind of revive in his career at 140. But for the most part, let's see how things go. At the end of the day, I support my people 100%, right? Origua all the way. The thing with me is that I always give somebody a chance, depending on what the situation is. This is boxing. So it's not like motherfucker is out here killing Puerto Ricans. You know what I'm saying? So it's just boxing. We keep it at boxing. As a boxing fan, I can move on from it, especially because I don't have a personal relationship with Subriel Matias. Now, if I had a personal relationship with somebody, then there's loyalty that has to be owed there, and I'm standing on that shit forever. I don't give a fuck if you're not talking about all the Puerto Ricans, but you're talking about my mans. I rock with Subriel Matias, but not to the extent where, you know, I'm going to prevent myself from watching another fighter that I find talented. However, he does need to be held accountable, Teofimo Lopez, for the certain things that he said. And that way, moving forward, we could just look back at it and laugh type shit. But the only thing about Teo, he went too far with the bullshit, you know, and that just reminds me, the racism. He said some shit about racism, you know what I'm saying? Crazy work. But like my guy right here said, let me show you one more thing before I go.
No track record of great, excellent fighters. What I should have said in that past interview was that Puerto Rican fighters of this era just not it.
Yeah, I say the same thing. I get criticized for saying that all the time.
But
it's hard to live up to the Tito's and the Cottos of the world. So
Perfect thing he said right there. It's hard to live up to the Tito's and the Cottos of the world. And that's where Teofimo Lopez, that's why I feel like Teofimo Lopez is out of his place talking about this. Because you're trying to compare Puerto Rican champions to other Puerto Rican champions. That's how you know Puerto Rico boxing is great. But why don't you compare him to the current time with everybody else when Puerto Rico has damn near the same amount of champions as Mexico, and Mexico has about 130 million more people living in their country.
TOMA.
Do you see what I'm saying? Let's compare with the champions today, because I don't see fighters like Sugar Ray Leonard that crazy today. I don't see fighters like, you know, Julio Cesar Chavez like that. You know, closest is Canelo, but let's think about it. When we look at Julio Cesar Chavez, he done collected so many fights and victories. Hard to compare the two. So you're never gonna find the same legends currently right now. And the ones that you do right now, Amanda Serrano, it's crazy where she got to start getting mentioned. But at the end of the day, you guys let me know what you think in the comments. Let's build on it. You already know what's up. Shout out to my Mafia. I'm out. Toma.